Hello, everyone, and welcome to this very special post-E3 episode of the Jump Up Supercast. I'm your host, Will. Joining me today, as always, Brandon.
Super Smash Brothers!
Noah.
Super Smash Brothers!
Muzamil.
Fortnite.
And Seth.
Hey, I've got myself a new mic. I now can speak
Seth.
clearly.
You sound worse!
You sound worse. And the pause with the hey coming in, I genuinely felt a shiver up my back. You made me feel weird.
If they were even listening at all, they definitely are now.
Every time
See you
Seth
later.
intros, I'm just upset. You know, my blood is just boiling.
I like to put him last because it puts us in a weird mental state for the rest of the
I'm
podcast.
always so apprehensive. Like, how is Seth gonna do it? You know, it's just
It's
All right.
these
But here we
moments
are.
that
But it's
keep me
E3. Well,
going.
no, E3's over. I'm
It's
sad
E3
now.
week. Well, it's E3 week though, baby.
Yeah,
Well, not
but
really. Actually, it's the post after E3 week. Thinking about it, but
Post-party
how was
E3.
everyone's Electronic 3 experience?
Fantastic!
You
What a
You're
great
missing a couple
E3.
years.
What?
The Electronic 3 happened. I lost my internet for both for like Monday and Tuesday, which is where most of the conferences were. So that was
Really
annoying.
good time to lose your internet, IMO.
Definitely.
It's happened multiple times now. The gods do not want me seeing these video game announcements, but we do it by going above our data cap and having to pay extra on the phone bill at the end of the month. But it's worth it for the video game announcements. But I guess we'll get to it because there's just E3 week stuff happens, of course. But sort of a weird E3 because it was light on news, I would say, like big world-changing things, right? Because sometimes there's the position for that to happen, you know? But I think there was some takeaways from this E3 that I have, and you guys can sort of tell me your thoughts on these takeaways. First and foremost, this E3, I don't know what the phrasing would be if there's, E3 of Dreams was a couple of years ago, right? This year, this is the E3 of fulfilled expectations, right? The companies went out there, they said what they were going to do, and they didn't lie, right? Sony came out and said we're going to give a focus on these 4 big games. That is what they did. Nintendo said we're doing a 2018 Focus Direct with a heavy focus on Smash Brothers. That is what they gave us. Microsoft said they were going to have the longest conference they've had in the era of the Xbox One. They did. That's what happened. But I think that there was a reaction on the internet because there's always a reaction. Because E3 is also the place though where the surprises happen, where the dreams are fulfilled. The crazy thing that you want to happen but never can. E3 is the time where you believe for a day that maybe this can happen.
Maybe Shenmue 3
Maybe
will
Mother
happen.
3 will get localized.
Maybe. Maybe one of these days.
But that didn't. The E3 was, I think, a little low on that. Right this year.
Well,
there was-
I think, to be fair, Microsoft did have a lot of surprises. They were just all leaked.
That is the problem, right? In
Gears-
previous years, we've had the conversation of everything's getting leaked. This year, it actually happened.
It happened.
Right?
Like, Gears Tactics would have been a very cool thing if I didn't know about it,
What about
so I
Gears?
don't know.
But Muzamil, we had Gears Funko Pop instead.
Gears
That didn't get
Pop.
leaked.
Cool.
Woohoo! But yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? And we also had games that we saw get leaked that didn't show up, right? Splinter Cell was leaked in the Walmart thing. We didn't see Splinter Cell. Star Fox Grand Prix, we didn't see. Mortal Kombat 11, we didn't see. There was just games that people walked in expecting.
Star Fox Racing.
Star Fox Racing, right? Just all
Yoshi.
those. Yoshi.
Where's
We're all-
Yoshi?
He didn't pay his taxes,
I'm glad.
guys.
I'm
He
glad
got
we
thrown
didn't
in
see him.
jail.
Muzi had
bad
dark
news.
thoughts about Yoshi the day before.
We didn't
He-
see
I
Metroid
was
4
concerned.
either.
Nope.
We did not see Metroid Prime 4, right? So, I mean, I guess what I would say is, do you think that those games that were rumored, that were sort of people were expecting walking in, the fact that we didn't see them, did it detract from your overall experience of watching E3, or were you happy with what we got
Not
to see?
one bit. I walked away at this E3 quite happy, more happy than I've been in previous E3s, to be honest. And even though a lot of, because I didn't really read the general takeaway until like yesterday, but like I don't know. I seem to. I'm happy. I was pretty happy with this E3.
I don't know.
A lot of good stuff. A lot of good content that I want to play.
I'm pretty.
I may have been.
I'm pretty happy. Like, I'm pretty happy with what we got. It's just there wasn't as well, actually. There wasn't as big as a shock factor as previous E3s, but I'm definitely happy with what they showed for the most part.
Yeah, there's some good games out there. Although I kind of miss Final Fantasy VII Remake.
I mean, the way like DMC5 would have probably been a huge deal if we didn't like know that it was coming. You know, because it's like, because I mean that franchise, a proper entry in that franchise hasn't happened in a decade. You know. So, like, I don't know, DMC5 is kind of insane when you think of it that way, but it's like, oh, yeah, everyone's like, oh, yeah, there was a given, DMC5. Yeah, absolutely. It was going to be the C3, you know?
Yeah, for years we've been thinking DMC5, right? Yeah. Like, we had that thing where there was that rumor about, like, oh, it was supposed to be at PSX, got pushed back for PlayStation Z3. We now see that was a lie. That whole thing was a lie. That Sony was not saving stuff for their E3. Like, they had what they had. And that DMC5 was at Microsoft of all places, right? Which I guess was sort of leads to my second takeaway. Microsoft, I think, they gained the most, I think, out of all of this, right? And I think part of that comes to one thing. We got the magic word said on stage. We have the first official word for next generation consoles. Phil Spencer came on stage and said, we are deep into development on the next Xbox. We now know there's been once that was said, sort of a lot of people that have been hearing reports started publishing the reports because that's just the nature of how these things work. We got one report that was that the codename is Scarlet. Who knows if that's true? So all this grain of salt, of course. But the other thing is that they're potentially looking at two products at launch, right? That essentially they're extremely happy with the 1S and 1X position for the Xbox One, right? Having the one that's a cheaper product and then the one that's higher in premium that runs games better. So I guess my question is that the Xbox One X came midway through this generation. Yeah. How would you feel about at launch there being just two versions of the same system, one of which is running at 4K natively, all this other stuff. The other one, maybe, like you're not getting quite the same graphic
to
fidelity.
Be fair, I don't know if it's worth getting into the weeds about the details of the next Xbox yet. You know what I mean?
No, I think it is, though. I think it is because it's like I'm looking at this E3. I think part of tying into that last point, we didn't see a lot of first-party announcements that seemed close. You're right. Like, Sony didn't announce any of the new first-party games. Microsoft announced Halo, and they announced Gears 5, which is coming out. But, like, Halo feels 2 to 3 years off, you know?
Well, okay, my thing is, I think I'm interested in talking about Microsoft next gen in a more broad way, you know what I mean? Like, not I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty necessarily of, like, oh, there's going to be two consoles and this and that, because, it's
But how do you feel, but how would you feel about that specifically? I mean, specific thing, because because Phil Spencer has they've alluded to, they like having a family of consoles. How do you feel about the idea of a family?
I don't know if it'll be there at launch, but, I mean, it worked for them this gen. So, I mean, sure, go ahead. Yeah, more options is fine, And, like...
I mean, in what capacity does he mean family of consoles, though? Like, does he mean, like, the smart glass bullshit that he tried out? And, like,
no. Like, Phil Spencer gave some interviews to talk about the next Xbox stuff. And he's... when he's talking about Xbox, he's specifically talking about the TV experience, plugging in a console to a television. That's straight up what he said. So not he's completely even ruling out like the chances of like a hybrid or like a smartphone. No, none of that. Like this is something you plug into your television, So
it's the way we like it.
Part of me feels as though like he might be talking about the same thing that he's done with the Xbox One and the Xbox One X. It's like, okay, there's like the average consumer, and then there's like the premium rate model.
Yeah. But the idea of having them both launch at the same time would be interesting. Who knows if it'll happen? But like Moose was saying, in the more broad space of next gen, the PlayStation guy months ago said 3 years off. This does not an Xbox guy said that you could potentially see the next console as early as E3 next year, right? So I think that one, do you think that there's any potential that PlayStation says, okay, Microsoft, you can come out in 2020, we'll come out in 2021?
No, they will come
Or
out
do you
the
think
same
that,
year
like,
for sure. Like they will both
Yes.
be whatever it is. Even if PlayStation is currently planning for 2021 or whatever it is, I don't know what they're planning. They'll hear about what's happening with Xbox and they will push up if they have to. You know, there's no because we saw with 360 and PS3. Part of the reason why 360 had such a huge lead was that 1 year gap was so important. You know, it was
a big one.
Yeah. But like in general though, I think Microsoft really set themselves up in a big way next gen in this conference, you know? Like they are making big moves, right? Like I mean, obviously Halo.
Oh yeah.
But and by the way, Halo, I can't wait to talk about that. But you know,
They're purchasing
they
5
talked about,
different
hey, we are
studios.
investing heavily in first party studios.
Yeah.
We acquired 5 new studios. You know, that is not that is not a small deal. You know, that's
For the people that are wondering, the 5 studios they got were the people that make Forza Horizon, Playground. They're also working on another project which is heavily rumored to be a new Fable. They got the people that make We Happy Few. They got Ninja Theory, who just did Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, which got rave reviews. They made a new team in Santa Monica, and they acquired one other team who I forget right now. But
the State of Decay guys.
State of Decay guys, you're right. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I mean, like you were saying, that's a big statement on like next gen. They want to be a first party powerhouse again.
Yeah.
You know, like they want to be there.
And I mean, Phil Spencer's bosses wouldn't let him throw so much money if they weren't expecting big payout.
Big
you know what I mean?
returns, yeah.
So clearly, that's a statement that like Microsoft as a company believes in Xbox. You know, believes it to be a pillar of their company. And so I don't know, like I think they're gonna really go all out next gen, you know. And they're setting the groundwork now, and you know they're doing a bunch of consumer friendly moves right now too, with Game Pass and backwards compatibility and crossplay. You know, it extremely feels reminiscent of late gen PS3 to me. Right, like where they're building all this goodwill with people, and they want you to know, hey, like, this is the place to play third-party games, you know? Like, we are the games console more than anything, you know? When you think of any third-party game, associate it with our console, you know? I think that's real interesting.
I mean, they had 50 games on stage.
Yeah.
I mean, I already did, so. You know.
Yeah, but I mean, you know.
I mean, that
like-
conference genuinely made me want to buy an Xbox One. And then I realized, like,
Yeah.
wait, the games that I'm interested in actually come out on PlayStation 4. So I was like, okay, maybe not this year.
And I think,
But-
but like, I think to an extent, like, they know that, you know. But like, the way I see it, like, the plan is, hey, let's keep our current base happy, you know. But like, when it comes time for the new consoles, you know, like, you're already starting to get that association in your head, you know. Like, Cyberpunk 2077 is an Xbox game in people's head right now, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, and the
and
thing
so
is,
is Devil
I think-
May
I think-
Cry and Jump Force and
Oh,
Dying
fuck
Light
Jump
2.
Force.
Like, it's a funny thing because we already have sort of 4 next gen ish games announced out there in the wild, which is strange, right? To have it this far off. They said Halo, which was shown off, which was extremely early on. It feels like that game, if it's not on the new Xbox, it will be cross gen. You know, like it'll be coming out around the same time as the new gen consoles are coming out.
Yeah.
At Bethesda's conference, Todd Howard said they're making Starfield, who loves the space lasagna, and also Elder Scrolls 6, and then both of those are next gen. They're developed for next gen consoles, right? And then we also have Cyberpunk, which is not coming out till 2020, and like at the earliest. And so it's like, I mean, those are all games that we know about right now. People have seen 50 minutes of Cyberpunk, and they're looking at what's probably a next gen game, and that's a thing that's pretty rare, right? We're in that spot where like Watch Dogs was last generation, you know, where like we saw Watch Dogs and we said, there's no way a 360 can run this, right? We're getting to that point with Cyberpunk where we're like, there's no way, like, you know, like our base PS4 is struggling with some of with what they're trying to pull off here, and so, you know, we've been on a bit of a wild ride back and forth with the next generation stuff over the last couple months, but I want to, because Moose, you said like this is, I think, sort of my third takeaway. We're now in the goodwill phase, right? Like we're now in the phase where companies are positioning themselves for what is coming next. And I think that bad headlines are bad because of how for your company, right? Bad company headlines are there. And I think that there was not a bigger one this week than one that sort of came out of nowhere because Fortnite was announced shadow dropped for Switch, right? That came out during their conference. And a lot of people very excitedly went to download Fortnite to start the game, and they tried to log in, and they saw an error message that said, sorry, you cannot put this account on any other console because of where you've connected it prior. And people said, huh? And then they went and they looked, and they saw that any any Epic account that's ever been associated on a PlayStation, even if you unlink it from your PlayStation account, even if you get it off your PS4, that account is forever unable to be used on any other system.
Dick moves.
Yeah, it's funny to me that has become a headline right now, because I've already known that, and I was very upset about it because my friend plays Fortnite on Xbox. So I was like, oh, well, I don't know why I didn't start on Xbox in the first place. I think it might have been it wasn't out, or I just PS4 was hooked up. I don't know, but I started playing on the PS4. So I tried to play. I knew. Well, okay, I can't cross-platform play with him on my PS4 because of Sony. Let me just download it on my Xbox, right? I tried. No, wouldn't let me log into my account. Wouldn't even let me make a new account with the same email. I was like, what the hell, man?
But I think the reason it specifically blew up now is I think you're more likely to have a PS4 and a Switch than a PS4 and an Xbox, you know?
Yeah.
Right. Probably not as many people noticed it. I mean, I noticed it already,
plus,
but...
And so, because the use case would be, hey, well, when I don't really feel like being at the TV, I can still play Fortnite with full controls, right? But now, if you have a PS4, if you play Fortnite on your PS4, you don't have that option, Unless you want to fucking restart and have two separate accounts, and it's just a bunch of pain that you don't want to go through, right? And so people are pissed. Like this has been trending everywhere. Like because I know a fair amount of people who literally the only game they really play is sports games and fucking Fortnite, and they've picked up a Switch and they're like, dude, hey, I tried logging in, but it's not working. I'm like, sorry, there's nothing you can do. And this isn't an issue if you have an Xbox, it is complete bullshit that Sony is doing this, I
mean, Sony gave a statement on this, right? Because it was starting to get mainstream coverage, like the BBC was talking about it, a bunch of other mainstream websites were talking about how people were upset at this. And Sony's statement, maybe I get the exact wording in front of me, it was essentially, we listen to players, but there is over 80 million active users on the PlayStation Network, so we have a big community of gamers, so you know what, why not just find people that are already on the PlayStation Network? And it's truly an awful press response. Incredibly bad,
It's extremely tone deaf, but my thing is, Sony can have such an easy win here because they don't even have to do crossplay, just allow cross progression, let that account be linked to other consoles, and then that kind of lets the headlines for crossplay go away for a little bit, because at least it'll be like, look, Sony's listening. It's baffling.
But we know, I think people know the reason. It's not hard to discern why they don't, right? Because the thing is, in Fortnite, if you get Battle Pass on your Xbox, the Battle Pass will still work on any other device that you have your Fortnite account on, Yes. If you get it on Switch, it'll still work on Xbox, vice versa. Getting skins, right? Buying skins, all that type of stuff. That is all cross-platform.
Yeah.
Sony's the biggest player in the game right now. They have the most players. They love to remind you of that, and they're looking at it and saying, if someone we want people to be spending $10 on Battle Pass on the PlayStation Network, so we get the cut, right? We don't want them paying on Xbox and then come and bring it over here because then we're losing revenue, right? Fortnite makes millions of dollars a day, and they don't want to take that cut. And from a business end, you're like, sure, whatever, but also from a player end, that just sucks, right? That just looks like greed. when every other console
I mean,
maker
that's 100%
was willing to.
It is.
Yeah,
and
it is
even
really,
from like
yeah.
a developer relations standpoint, right? Like, I can't imagine Epic is pleased with the fact that like people will be, having more ways to play Fortnite only benefits Epic, right? Because that just means, oh, hey, I have more reason to play Fortnite right now, right? It's like, I'm not at my TV, but I feel like, whatever, I'll boot up Fortnite, and, that could lead to a sale of a skin or whatever, right? Like, Epic actively loses out on people not being able to do whatever they want, right? Like, this is bad for Epic, and I can't imagine they're very happy with this at all. I don't know what they could do. I mean, if I was Epic, I would be extremely aggressive about this towards Sony, But I don't know. I don't know what you can do because, I don't know. Most Fortnite players
funny 'cause, I mean, people
on
are
PS4, but...
Well, I mean, but other companies are talking about this, right? Like Xbox is on Twitter adding Nintendo of America being like, yo, you want to play Fortnite later, right? Like, both of them are making sure to post pictures where there's clearly someone playing on their phone, clearly someone playing on an Xbox, clearly someone playing on a Switch, someone playing on their computer, all in the same photo. There's one thing missing from that, There's one image missing from it. And so, I mean, I think, I'm going to give you a number that might be depressing. So be ready. Fortnite, we mentioned, did that Pro-Am tournament for E3. At the time, it had more viewers than every other press conference combined. It had 1.4 million viewers. It was insanely
Absolutely
big.
Disgusting.
It's absolutely huge, right? But I mean, the good thing is that this blows up with Fortnite because Fortnite's one of the only games that is big enough that it feels like it can break through in this way, Like that.
I mean, at this point,
conversation is
like
finally happening.
The PR hit for Sony, I wouldn't want to take this, I would concede at this point, That's just me. I don't, Sony can run their business however they want, but I can't. This is not a good look for them, When you're on fucking CNBC and they're talking about Sony shares dropping because they won't allow crossplay, that's a bad thing. Your investors at that point are unhappy, So I don't know. If I was, I would.
So I mean,
by now.
It's one of those ones where this is a thing that changes the perception of your company, and that's the stuff that matters when you're trying to sell people a new product. In that year or two, if Fortnite's still the biggest game in the world and they haven't changed this, that's a thing. That's a part of the conversation, But that's sort of, it's weird because that happened the day after sort of all the conferences. But when I was driving home from work, the two things that I heard on the news about video games was one, the Fortnite controversy, which was weird, right? But two, and this we can use this to transition to another thing that I think we'll be more happy to talk about. Super Smash Brothers, baby.
Yeah.
Oh,
12 glorious minutes.
12 glorious minutes of Super Smash Brothers. I was shocked, honestly.
12. It was 25. 25 minutes. 25 minutes of Super Smash Brothers.
Yeah. But I was shocked that the radio guy, it was funny because he was happy to announce that that Nintendo will be releasing a new Super Smash Brothers for the Switch, which if you don't know is a video game. They're still making Nintendos. And I was like, well, I mean, okay, we got pretty close, right? We got pretty close to just being a nice headline.
Did he actually say they're still making Nintendos?
Yeah, he was clearly surprised because I think this guy was 65, but it was so he was just having to read what's on the paper in front of him. But guys, we're not 65. We know what Smash Brothers is, and oh baby, I mean, we'll just now we're just going to transition from news to just talking about video games that we saw at E3, and I mean, we sort of all knew it walking in. We all love Smash, and Smash Ultimate is now the name for the Smash Brothers game for Switch, and it's kind of a thing that's exactly what is aimed at people like us is the weird thing.
Yes, it is.
Oh my god.
This is, people keep joking about this, but this is literally Masahiro Sakurai saying, never ask me for anything ever again. I am doing everything you could have possibly ever asked for,
Did you see me, Leah?
Except one. Except one.
Oh, shut up about Waluigi.
Except one very important thing. Everybody's so sad and angry that fucking Waluigi's still in a
I am genuinely shocked that Waluigi is the people's champion now.
It's
there was always the
Yes,
question.
Like, to be fair,
even fucking Netflix commented on it.
It's
Washington
like-
Post,
Washington
there's articles
Post.
everywhere.
it's like, but it's the wonderful thing about Waluigi, right? I mean, first of all, I didn't expect him to blow up like this. He's already a very memeable guy, right? But like, it's this perfect thing of like, I think Waluigi is one of the very few characters, right, that when you see someone crying about Waluigi, you don't know if they're just memeing or if they genuinely want it, because there's like equal ironic and unironic demand for that guy. You know, like, it's either people just clearly shitposting or they just actually want him. You know?
So, I think it's a large amount of people doing it ironically. But there's people who are doing it unironically, which is also very funny.
It's just Waluigi's the perfect character for that, you know.
I mean, let's just share the Mitt Romney Waluigi picture. It's still the rarest picture on the internet. But like, I guess we should mention what Super Smash Bros. Ultimate actually is for the 5 people that didn't see it. Smash Bros. Ultimate is a victory lap. It's a victory lap for Masahiro Sakurai, is what it is, right? Like, it is a celebration of Smash Brothers. And if you don't care about Smash, sorry, this may not be for you. But for people like us, it is everyone is here. Was the phrase, right? Everyone, every character that's ever got cut, every character that you always felt was kind of not right, that we're now looking at and we're changing, right? Pichu is back. Pichu is back. Of all people. Snake
Pichu
is back, right? Ganondorf is Ocarina of Time design, and he has a sword. You know, like, Ridley is here. All of stage hazards have toggles. Like, there is
Daisy's hanging about.
It is one of those. Daisy's also hanging out. Memory Man 3 is cheering with joy. There is just, it is a thing where they did 25 minutes, like Moose said, for Smash Ultimate, and I'm sure it bored a lot of people who don't like Smash. Sorry to you. I had a great time. With all 25
Those 25 minutes, you could have told me that was 5 minutes of Smash, and I would have thought the same. Because it went by so fast, because I was just so enthralled by everything.
I was just like, and I couldn't, like, take it all in. I was like, oh my God, like, slow down. I can't, like, what are you doing, you madman?
Yeah, it was one thing right after the other. Was like, boom this, boom that, this is there. Oh
God, that was just beautiful. I want to specifically talk about that trailer. That everyone is here to the way they introduced this video game to us, right? Like, Sakurai kind of coyly was like, you know, hey, like, we're gonna put the number of when they join the franchise, right? And we're like, okay, we're gonna get a handful of confirmations here, right? And then the trailer progresses slowly, right? And you see. First you see, like, Link, and he looks different, right? And you're like, oh yeah, Breath of the Wild Link, we kind of knew about that, right? You see Zelda, she looks totally different. Like, oh, this is really cool. Ice Climber show up, it was an inevitability, right? But then you start seeing characters you start getting worried about getting cut, like Wii Fit Trainer and Ryu, and it's like, oh yeah, wow, like, this roster's already looking pretty big. I don't know if I have to really worry about much, you know? Then they show fucking Pokemon Trainer, and it's like, oh wait, no one saw that one coming, right? Who's like, oh yeah, Pokemon Charizard is gonna go back to being just part of a trio again, and then they really hit it home with Cloud and Snake, everyone is here, and then right after Pichu, and just they go on an insane blowout after that, and it's like, I can't take, like, when you see everyone is here, and then right after they show Pichu, it really just hits home. Holy fuck. You know, like, this is
everyone.
This is everyone.
You show young Link,
and then they show it's like, I can't handle this.
And the best thing too is that in the background, all these characters they have the shots, and you're like, they don't point it out later on, but they're all on like a bunch of different stages that like they don't confirm as like being in the game later on, but you're like, I saw it. Like, if you go back and you watch and you're like noticing 5 different things, right? Like, a specific thing I want to call out that I love about Smash presentations, right? And it happened with the Smash Direct back for Wii U, is that like they put so much time into like the shot of like these characters that like there's just little jokes constantly happening that are flying by, you know, like where like just little things where you're like, oh, like, how much time did they think to, like, have the thing where Ryu's doing his focus attack right into Ganondorf's Warlock Fist and they're, like, collide, right? Like, things like Duck Hunt Dog, like, trying to, like, bite at Dr. Mario's pill. Just, like, little things where you don't even notice it until after it's passed by and you're like, oh, that was funny. Like, Kirby with Samus's helmet and Ridley just sort of staring at him weird.
Whereas like Bowser
what?
tosses Nana
Like-
off into the lava pit and it's just Popo, and then Ganondorf comes in just smashing his fist against his hand. It's like, shit.
And Papa just like turns around and is like, fuck, right? Like it's so good. It's great for rewatches, and it's great for like what can be a very long presentation. You just have little moments of interest the entire way, right? And I think that's the thing I liked most about going one by, because after they did that trailer, like Miz mentioned, they did every character, here's the things that we've altered, right? On a bigger scale. Obviously, a lot of people have played the demo at E3, and we now know a lot of changes to gameplay, like in terms of like how attacks cause knockback and stuff like that. But just maybe not every single change was to your interest in that trailer, right? Maybe not every single change is something that you particularly care about, but there's always at least like one character in there, you know. There's always one. I watched reactions to it, and every person reacted with like a "oh dude, yes" to like a change, but it was always a different character, right?
Yeah.
Everyone has a different fave, and the fact that everyone's fave sort of got their own little treatment is what made it special, you know, like that there was no one that felt left out along the way. And then capping it off obviously with Ridley, who was just like, it's been 2001 since, you know, it's been 17 years was how long people have been having this conversation about this man. And he murdered Mario and Mega Man. He's killed them.
Dead.
He hit the big time.
He hit the big time.
That was great. That he hit the big time to, you know, to signify the he's too big argument. It was just what a nice little.
Like
it's the most. It feels like it's a Smash that is focused at the community.
yes,
Which is
more
strange,
than
'cause
anything.
Smash is sort of infamous. Yeah, which is it's funny because Smash was like infamous for a little bit with like sort of just like having sort of what Sakurai plans for, and then like just everything sort of goes along that ride. This is one where like you felt like he had 1,000 different things over the last, you know, however many years, where he's like, I wish I could change that and that and that, but I eventually have to put out a game. And this is the point where he looked at that big list of 1,000 things and said, I'm doing it. I'm fixing all these things that have built that I wanted to. And I think that's exciting for people that have been dedicated fans like we are.
Yeah.
And
So,
I can't
mentioning that.
imagine that design document. You know, initially putting the Sakurai talked about how like the first thing he said to the team when he's like, the very first thing he said when they were making a new game was, "We're gonna put everyone here." And apparently the whole team was just silent because it's like, this is a pretty big undertaking, dude. Like, are you? What?
I mean, all the stages, right?
Yeah.
and like not just porting them, redoing them. You
All
know,
the-
like all the
yeah,
stages are back and are visually redone.
They
Because
look
you like in
amazing.
the Wii U version, right? Like they brought a lot of stages back, but like you could still kind of tell, like, okay, this is an old stage, you know. It really looks like almost every stage was remade from the ground up, and the fact that it's easier to list right now what stages aren't in than are, you know.
Yeah.
Like at this point, I truly expect every single one that's ever been in the franchise. That's insane.
It's like getting close to 100 confirmed stages, right?
Yeah.
And
Like,
I mean,
what
they
are you-
just
It's a
cut
lot.
electroplankton, but you know, every other stage comes.
Yeah.
How dare you?
I'm just happy.
So, before we get into the other games of E3, I want to just really quickly, because we mentioned these little changes, what is one just little detail that you notice, or it could be a big detail, but just one thing specifically in Smash, because it's sort of our collective game of show, that you are like, man, I love that. This is the one thing that just like sticks out in your brain. While you're thinking on it, I'll go first. So I was reading, there's a great Reddit post that is just summarizing from all the impressions, all the changes, right? All of the big and the small along the way. And one thing that I saw is just that Ryu can now cancel into his final smash. Like in Street Fighter, you very rarely just throw a super out randomly, you know? You very rarely just like throw it and just hope that it hits because people will block. In Smash now, mid combo with Ryu, because he has true combos like in you know, in Smash 4 and in this game, you can interrupt mid combo, do cancel frame animations the way that you can at any other point in the game. It's only for Ryu into his final smash. so that they were true to life to the intimate details of super canceling that has been a big part of Street Fighter up to this point. And I thought, man, that is a little microcosm of the obsession with detail that I think is exciting for me with Smash Ultimate.
Interesting.
Does anyone else have any things they want to call out about
I like
Smash?
the dodging mechanics that they added to it. I think a lot of criticism, especially in the competitive scene, well, specifically in the competitive scene, is that Smash Brothers Brawl and somewhat 4 felt a little more defensive, and it kind of slowed the pacing because they gave people options to be more defensive. Whereas this game, they've added penalties to dodging, and they've made air dodges
just spamming it
different, but also punishing as well if you don't know how to use them correctly. So.
And also the bit that if you continuously side dodge or roll, you become more vulnerable. The more you do it.
Specifically, calling these what are clearly advanced techniques, calling them out in their E3 showcase, where all eyes are on you, and this is clearly
short hopping was stated.
Yeah, fucking short hopping, right? It's the fact that they went into this insane detail specifically for not even just hardcore Smash, but specifically hey, competitive scene, we are listening to you this time. That to me is insane, right? Because the competitive it obviously Masahiro Sakurai, he's a beautiful man. I've loved everything he's ever done, but there did feel this disconnect, right, between him and the competitive scene, right? And Ultimate really feels like the first time where it really seems like he cares about what they think, you know? Yeah. And I think that's only a good thing, so that's exciting. Which I guess I can transition to mine.
Which is? Just
specifically when he said, hey, don't expect too many newcomers this time around. Because we've really focused on just, making this the ultimate experience, Yeah. And that spoke a lot to me. It was hey, it's a weird thing to tell people, lower your expectations, But, it almost feels like Sakurai's, scolding you because you're hey, hey, I'm doing so much. Leave me the fuck alone,
But yeah, Moose, I get where you're coming from with that. Sakurai is... I love that he, is very good in particular with his words, right? Where, he wasn't saying feel bad, but you felt bad, right? Because I was sort of thinking, I was are we going to get another newcomer trailer after Ridley? But then he was we've really been focusing on, making sure everything's back. And I was and then I sort of thought, I was man, that's a lot of stuff. And I was just taking it for granted, you're right, Sakurai. I get why you don't have the space for, the number of newcomers we had in Smash 4 because you're doing a different thing that I'm equally as excited for. So I agree. But, there it is. Smash Brothers. How exciting, right? It's
right.
Look,
Can't
December
wait. December 7th, baby.
December 7th, baby.
Happy birthday. Thank you, Sakurai. I know, you're a great pal to me, and I appreciate it. He knew it was my birthday. He was like, Brandon, I'm going to do this for you, dude. He sent me a text right after. He's like, you see that release date with a winky face? And I was like, Sakurai, bless.
Bless. What a kind soul.
I will say, though, can I just... One last thing on Smash. Okay. That trailer that they opened with made me more happy than any individual newcomer trailer ever could have. Just, I don't... it just made me feel things. I wept.
You wept. But there were... there were other games at E3, right?
Were there?
Sometimes we forget. But... so I think I wanted to go one by one and just have each of us mention one specific game that we look at and say, hey, if you haven't looked at gameplay of this, you haven't looked at the trailer for this, check it out. Go seek it out right now. So First up, Brandon, you told me this earlier and I was excited by this choice.
Oh, yeah.
What is your personal highlight?
My personal highlight, and it's one that I think probably got a little overlooked, I think, and... this wasn't its first E3, but it looked better than ever, and I'm still just as excited about it. It's Ori and TM61, or Will of the Wisps.
Oh, I see.
I was like,
I
what?
get
What
it.
are you...
But yeah, Ori and Will o' the Wisps. Man, that game, dude. If you never played the original Ori, please do yourself a favor and play that game, because it was that first game. It's a beautiful game. But this
It's
game,
on PC, right?
yeah, I think
It's
so.
even
yeah.
on Steam.
No reason not to
Yeah.
play.
There's no reason. If you got an Xbox, you got a PC, play this game. And it's just the sequel. So the first one's beautiful. The second one, there are no words. I didn't even think you could make that game. Just looked incredible, the first game, and I didn't think you could make it look better. But seeing these trailers and seeing this game in action, I was like, oh man, this just looks like almost like one of the most incredible games, just from an artistic style that I've ever seen.
You want that 4K HDR for this one.
Oh, I do.
You want it looking as good as you can. 'Cause
Yeah.
The art is incredible.
And on top of that too, it's almost like they focused even more on just making movement and traversing through this world even more fluid than it already was, and it just looks so fun to play because the movement in that game, and once you start unlocking abilities like traversing through this world, is just so seamless and it's so fun. And I just can't wait. I can't wait to explore. I can't wait to see some little cute, heart-wrenching stuff going on, and just have another great adventure with my little pal.
You know what it gave me vibes of, by the way, from the trailer? Get ready for this one. Kirby's Dream Land 3 vibes. Right?
Okay.
He had a big owl friend. He had all these friends, and like they're gonna incorporate in the game the developers talked about. And you're just like, oh baby, I want to go on a fun adventure with these cute buddies of mine.
Are you thinking of Dreamland 2?
2 and 3, both of them have.
Oh yeah, the
buddies.
2 and 3 both have buddies in it.
Yes.
Okay.
But also, like you were saying, like I was like, man, there's a double jump into an air dash into a grappling hook. Oh baby,
That's what
this
I'm
is the type of
saying.
stuff I'm looking for.
The movement and the traversal of the world just looks just so seamless and like fluid. I think fluid is a really good word for it. It flows, man. It just looks great.
I was really wondering where this game went after, because like we hadn't seen it for a whole year, right? And I was like, okay,
Yeah.
man, surely it's coming out this year. After I saw that trailer, I was like, okay, the 2019 is completely justified.
Yeah.
Because they went above and beyond with those visuals, man. Like I can't describe just how good it looks. It's insane, and I love the 3D stuff they're doing. Like that when they show stuff like that in particular, it just really shows you just how gorgeous this game is. So Ori and the Will of the Wisps. I'm excited. Day one for me.
There's plenty of gameplay footage to find of that game on the YouTube right now, so go look at it, like just get as high as your internet will allow you to go with quality on YouTube, and just sit back and enjoy. Next up, Muzamil. You gave me a game that I think for viewers, this might come as a bit of a surprise knowing the type of games you enjoy, but I'm excited to hear that you're excited about it. What is it?
Yeah, so everyone's like, what? It's not a Nintendo game? Are you sure this is the right person here? But yes, I am incredibly excited. The game that I have been thinking most about, besides Smash Brothers, since E3 is Halo Infinite. Okay, because Halo let me tell you why. All right, so you may be thinking,
Okay.
Well, we didn't even see footage of this game. It was a CG trailer, in-engine cutscene, whatever it was, right? And it's a first-person shooter. All these things that you would think I would hate. I've railed against CG trailers so many times. I'm like, I don't want to fucking see a CG trailer. I want to see the game. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you why Halo Infinite is okay with me, though. Maybe I'm just a big old hypocrite, okay? But I like the Halo franchise quite a bit. Specifically Halo 1 to 3, okay? I've played those games multiple times, actually, which is rare for me. I don't really replay games that often.
I think that was one of the few times I could get your ass on Xbox playing with me.
Yeah.
We
I mean,
played,
the reason I
the
bought an
Master Chief
Xbox, the reason I bought an Xbox was when they announced the Master Chief Collection, and I was like, holy fuck, I have to have this. Is a console I have to have. And after Halo, I never played 4 and 5, but just seeing what I've seen, reading what I've read, disappointments, right? And I don't want to play those games, right? Halo Infinite, though, that trailer, it to me was a statement, you know? Like, hey, we've been thinking about Halo for a while, okay?
Yeah.
And we are willing to take all the time we need to get this one right. And that trailer gave me such Halo 1 vibes, you know? While at the same time feeling really new, you know? And it's just... I cannot wait to see what they're doing with this game, really. Like, somehow they made it that I have my full faith in 343 Studios. So I'm excited. Like, I really can't wait to see what's next. And honestly, if this game is good and it's a next-gen launch game like I think it is, like, that will push me to get an Xbox fucking day one. Like, I will already say that, you know? Like, I want this game.
Damn,
yeah,
dude.
Halo
And,
Infinite.
like, it's exciting because, like, I mean, it's exciting when a developer says the things. It feels like they live in the same world you do, you know? And, like, Phil
Yes.
Spencer, if you haven't, seek out his interview with Jeff Gerstmann, because he always goes on the Giant Bomb show. He did a very good interview this year where they cover a lot of topics. But he said, like, he's honest. He's like, you know, we had Halo 4, and then, you know, Master Chief Collection, and then Halo 5, and then, you know, expansions, and then Spartan Assault, and all these different games coming out at the same time. There was fatigue. The team was tired. Halo was tired. It's the most important franchise to Xbox, and it became a thing where people weren't excited for it, and we realized that was wrong, right? The team wasn't excited to make Halo, and so we said, we'll take the time, we'll take the effort, make a game that you believe and have faith in, so you can feel that passion again for what is such an important series for us. And you're like, that's the exact words that you want to hear from a big company, you know? Like, that's a big comparison, but, like, that's the stuff that led to the big first-party successes this generation for Sony and Nintendo, right? Was take a break from God of War, take a break from Zelda, like, reassess what you're looking at, and, like, see what you want it to be now, rather than just trying to imitate what it was originally. I think that's exciting.
And this is going to be the longest break Halo has had in a while, you know? Like, I mean, Halo 5 came out in, 2015? And this is looking at minimum 2019, but I feel like they would have said 19 if that was the case, you know? Yeah. So, realistically, we're looking at a 2020 release. They are really thinking about what to do with this next one, and it's exciting to see what they do with it. And the fact that they acknowledge that, hey, we know we fucked up. Like, they're not pretending that, like, you know, Halo 4 and 5, and especially goddamn Master Chief Collection, they're not pretending like, you know, that they did the right thing there, right? Like, there's this feeling of, like, you know, we know we did you wrong, you know? And so yeah, I want to see the results of that.
That's very exciting, Ms. Mill. Thank you for that. Next up, we have from Noah, like, sort of, I guess, on a similar track, a game that, one, you had said beforehand that you were excited for, but just, like,
yes,
I think it's exceeded all of our wildest expectations in terms of what it is. Noah, what game is it?
Resident Evil 2, baby, the remake.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god!
Finally happening. I've been dying for this for so long. You have no fucking idea.
We do it, baby. We do it. So, like, Noah, just talk me through, like, it's remaking games is hard, right? Because people have such attachment to the original games, especially Resident Evil early games, because, you know, like, the series has gone in so many different directions. Looking at Resident Evil 2 Remake, just tell me, like, as a longtime fan of Resident Evil 2, like, what is it that you're just like, man, this is exciting?
I get to revisit, like, the fucking old police station, like, all these places where I visited the old game. And they're going to be revamped to glorious HD graphics. The visuals are going to be beautiful. They're going to be able to concentrate even more on the horror and, like, make you, hopefully, at least this is what I'm hoping the developers are trying to do, like, try to capture the real essence of horror of that Resident Evil 2 had in the past. And, like, they may take away a few things like the camera angles, or they might take a few things away, like the camera angles, and it might be over shoulder like they did with Resident Evil 4, but that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
They might find ways around it to make it, like, actually improve it, even though some fans might prefer it the old way. But there's great potential here, and just like make it such an amazing remake, like they did with the first remake on the GameCube for Resident Evil 1, going back to the mansion. Like they massively improved that game from the original Resident Evil 1, even the director's cut.
Yeah.
Like that was on the PlayStation 1. So I'm really hoping, and I have faith that they will do a good job, because again, the developers have reassured that they're like trying to stick to the old roots as much as they can.
I mean, I don't know if you've seen the demo footage, but like everyone is saying it just looks fantastic. Like this seems to be what everyone who wanted this game like desired, you know? So that's a real exciting thing.
The spot,
and then they're gonna make it even bigger. Like they're extending it. They're making
That's very exciting. The spot in the police station where the liquor is, where it was, and you just see what it caused. Like seeing that in the demo, I was like, "Oh baby, they did it. They did. It looks like it should. Like it's nice. Like killing a zombie takes a lot of shots, even if you shoot it in the head. Like that is how it's supposed to be. You know, like if you're doing old Resident Evil, that's how it works. Like ammo management will be a thing. It's so exciting.
yes.
Oh man, that's so good. Like it's Capcom craps on us so much, and then just sometimes they'll come out with a thing, and you're like, man, I can't stay too mad at you, man. Like you're doing RE2 make, you're doing Mega Man 11, they look great. Like, oh, it's exciting. But moving on, this is Saf. You surprised me by a wide margin with this one. It's a game we didn't know about at all walking into E3.
No.
We didn't know it was even from a series we know. What is it, Saphir?
Damon X Machina.
Damon X Machina. This is, for people who don't know, because this might be the one that the fewest people know, it was the first thing that showed off in the E3 Direct for Nintendo. It is a mech game.
Straight up.
Where it has like a very, like a...
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe the art style, but it has a unique look to it. What is exciting you, Saf, about Damon X Machina?
The entire trailer was exciting. The entire trailer itself, they had one theme that they chose to go with for that trailer, and that theme was loud. And everything about that trailer like fit that theme perfectly, and I was in love with that. Whereas like the music was loud, fast, blaring, just constant, and there was just so much of it. The art style as well, the visuals, like the color coordination in these fucking environments, where it's like you're having the orange desert against the blue skyline backdrop, as well as like the kind of greenish buildings and trees and shit against a red moon fucking sky, as well as the giant robot, and like the contrasting colors between like the white fucking mech when you're fighting off the black villain, or the black mech villain. Like these types of contrasted characters, like every single color about it, like is there to make the other colors around it pop. And a lot of the visuals, a lot of the action in this scene is just so loud, like the explosions, everything about it is just exciting and intense. And I loved the idea of that, and I love the kind of theming of that. And even like at the end when it's like they cut to the title screen and there's just like abrupt dead silence, as if it's like, this is like, that trailer is that game, this is what you're expecting of that game, don't expect anything else more than that. Like that sort of idea that this is going to be a very intense, very high octane kind of action game excited me a lot about this particular trailer, and I wanted to see more, and I want to see more of this game. I want to see it develop and see more different things that you could do with this game. They had a Treehouse version of it.
They did.
Yeah,
which the demo was kind of, it was alright. It was a little bit slower paced, but they were like, oh, well, we've only have this certain build, so I was like, okay, I'll give you some leeway.
Yeah, clearly early, right? I thought it was interesting that they said that like out of, like we said earlier, it was a focus on 2018 games. We saw Fire Emblem, which got delayed to 2019 early, but the other 2019 game that we saw at Nintendo's Direct was this game.
Yeah,
and I thought that was
and
interesting.
they opened with it.
And they opened
this
with
is
it.
the
cold open.
This is the very first game we saw in the Nintendo Direct, and I thought that was wild. You know, it's like what a
I mean, it feels like a weird
thing.
statement of confidence from Nintendo proper. You know, like it feels like them being like, look at this game, and actually there's something here to look at and like be excited about. You know,
that trailer is gotta be my favorite trailer of the entire E3. Like it was very, very effective, and it stuck to a core theme really well. Like a lot of the different elements of that trailer stuck to that theme of just being loud and just fast paced and intent. And I love that a lot about that particular trailer. And the game itself, like they have Armored Core devs on it. They have like artists from Fire Emblem working on like the characters as well. And the characters actually look good when you can customize your own avatar in this game. and they actually look presentable, which is quite weird when you know it's like, I don't know, like I kept getting flashbacks to Xenoblade Chronicles, and I was like, I bet you this is what Xenoblade Chronicles were trying to do with their avatar shit, but they couldn't do it right. And like even the customization of the robots themselves, like the mechs, like how much involvement it is in that sort of thing. Like you have like 5 different weapon slots that you have to pick from and choose, and you have to optimize in regards to like what would be the best fighting style for certain stages. That was very interesting. And the hub that you have as well, where it's like, oh, you can collect different types of weapons and you can show it off, and it's like, and the amount of content and the amount of customization that's involved in this entire game alone, it's quite exciting. Like the micromanagement aspect of this is quite exciting to me as well. It's quite enjoyable. So this is my game that I'm really, really looking forward to in 2019.
That is, I mean, for a person that I was like, oh, that was really neat. Like, what a great job selling that game, genuinely, on your part, Saf. Like, actually, very well done.
Thank you.
That's a thing to look. I'm now excited for. Now it's another $60 I'm probably gonna spend. Thank you. Oh well. But I guess it comes back to me. I want to do one extremely quickly, small, and then I'll get to my bigger one. Just look up the trailer for Sakuna of Rice and Ruin. It is a very cute-looking indie game where you play as a harvest goddess. It is cute and it seems very sweet. It is half like platformer / Metroidvania, half farming because you're a harvest goddess. So you grow crops and you grow fields and you grow rice, and there's so many steps to the process they show off of like planting, harvesting, watering, all that stuff that I love in farming games because I like games like Stardew Valley. That is how you level up and progress. And then the actual platforming itself looks like just very fun, and it's not got a lot of attention this E3. So go check out Sakuna of Rice and Ruin if you are interested at all in what looks like just a fun melding of two things that I like a whole lot. But baby, I want to talk about a game that we saw a trailer for, and then there was a 50-minute gameplay demo for that I've read multiple impressions of. All of them have been so incredibly glowing. Cyberpunk 2077 is a game that feels not real in a lot of ways, right? Just in like how the world is being presented. Like if we believe that this is a next-gen game, if we believe that this is just utilizing these consoles to their maximum potential, it is utilizing that power, that technology in a way that personally to me resonates so much. In just little ways where people were talking about how they didn't see it's an open world game. There's open world driving. It's first person. There's stealth. There's RPG mechanics. There's a lot of things going on there. But they never saw a repeated NPC, right? They never saw a single person look the same. Yeah. They saw people walk around that looked relatively normal. They saw people that had half their face missing and replaced with just cybernetics, right? Just open wiring. People that had LED screens for eyes, and every single NPC in the game the main character comments on, right? Like you can do the Watch Dogs thing where you scan them, but like personalized little commentary, and it's not all the same. It's like sometimes they'll just be like janitor, like taxi driver, and sometimes it'll be like some poser who doesn't know what they're doing because he looks like a scumbag, right? And you're like, that's so good. And just like the world, right? We hear cyberpunk and we hear a dark, dreary, like visually dark and dreary thing. The world is bright, the world is colorful, there's stuff to it, right? If you look at that trailer, there's very rarely a moment where there's not something visually interesting happening on screen. But so in that one demo, they saw like body harvesting facilities, right? Like you see these things where like the world is still dark without having to visually be dark, right? So, like there is interesting things to look at and to explore. Like it's based off a classic tabletop RPG that has very well done in-depth mechanics that CD Projekt Red is very good at implementing that type of stuff in their games. It is just something that like it feels like you're looking at a game from 5 years in the future, or you're hearing about a game from 5 years in the future when you look at it. Maybe that's because it'll come out in 5 years, but oh baby, we saw it at this E3, so I'm counting it. I'm excited.
Have you ever read the comic book Transmetropolitan?
I have not.
Right. So the reason why I bring this up is like Transmetropolitan is just like a very futuristic world, whereas like a lot of people are like cybernetic, a lot of people are transracial or like even trans species. Like delve into like future tech in like the most weirdest, almost perverse ways possible, and they kind of like focus on that and those types of themings. So I was just wondering, like, looking at the trailer, it kind of reminded me of Transmetropolitan in that, like, they seem to be like getting this like very, very, like, this is like a world where it's very, very intimate in like cybernetics and like enhancements to one's bodies in regards to like just basically robotics and shit like that. So I was wondering, like, is it on that same level of like kind of like looking at like a skeptical eye of that sort of world, and like how people get really, really like into that fucking world and like the fucking technology.
Looking at the stuff that they're saying about the game, I think it's like it's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, right? Like because there is like Deus Ex is like the closest analogy that people make, you know, and Deus Ex is a series that's very much about like the process of people becoming cybernetics and adding things on. This is a world where it's accepted as the norm. Everyone has it, you know, like it's an accepted part of life. You will just see people walk down the street where half their body, they don't have half their body, and it's just a weird computer thing, you know, like it's just. It is part of the world, but like the way that it's changed that world, you know, where it's, you know, people can take a 50 bullets because they're made of metal underneath their Terminators, and that's like, that changes the way that the world viewed warfare, right? It changes the way that like crime takes place, right? Because suddenly a bullet to the head doesn't stop a criminal, like you know, like suddenly the whole world changes, and because of just that idea, that perspective. The Witcher 3 was like a game that I liked, obviously from CJ Projekt Red, but it was a type of fantasy that I don't have a ton of particular interest in, but I still had a huge amount of respect for the world and the way they were able to present all these scenarios in that setting. This is a game that is taking all that stuff they've had even more time to work on, even more time to sort of try new things with, and it's in a setting that I find deeply fascinating and deeply interesting. So that's why it's my personal. Go watch that trailer again, and what a cool way to end the conference of hacking in and uploading the trailer.
That one. I'm not gonna lie to you, like the kind of idea of like going into that futuristic world and just kind of like seeing like how like just having like this weird skeptical view of like this is how weird you can get with technology, and just kind of like look into that aspect of it. That fascinates me a lot with this game. I hope we kind of like lean into that.
Where it's not just like, oh, I have a robot hand. It's like, oh, my body, like, you can barely discern that I'm a human at this point, you know? Like, I'm just missing half my face, and there's just, like, a huge gaping void where it would be normally. But, like, I just live. Like, that's exciting.
That's very interesting,
But much as that ended Microsoft's conference, I think that will end our personal highlights and this post-E3 podcast of the Jump Up Supercast.
What?
Boy, oh boy, what an exciting ride it was.
It was a good year.
Good year. It was a weird one. I walked out. I was like, oh, but like the more I think about it, the more the stuff that we saw is just so exciting.
Nothing really disappointing. Like you'd expect it to be somewhat boring, like as from the main three at the very least. But no, they were all solid. They were all really good.
Yeah.
So if you're complaining on the internet, stop. It's fine. Have fun with video games.
Oh, it was a great year. I wouldn't even say it was good. I'd say it was great.
Great year. But that is the podcast for this week. We're not quite done with E3 stuff yet. Moose and I made bets that were going to be paying off. Because of E3 week, we are not going to be able to do the Game Club this Thursday. We will do it next week. Look forward to the Drill Dozer thing. But instead, this Thursday, look out for the results for Moose and I and Kevin, our executive producers' bets. No matter who wins, there's implications for this podcast and for our Twitch account where we stream every week. So if you want to be in the know about that, listen out for those results, and also follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, on Twitch. Give us a follow of that account so you can get a little notification every time that we go live. That is, however, the podcast for this week. You know, and I guess we'll end it with this, everyone. There's nothing wrong with having fun with video games.